Hello everyone, and happy scary season! As usual, before we get into the nitty-gritty behind our subject matter today, let's go over the basics of who I'm drawing and what materials I'm using. In the spirit of Halloween, our subjects for today are two demons from the Ars Goetia, known as Bur, the lion, and Aemon, the bird, wolf, snake bundle of fun. I started these guys off in Procreate and printed the sketches onto Fluid 100 hot press watercolor paper to complete these illustrations traditionally. It's been so long since I've made a watercolor video that I can't remember if I've mentioned this before, but I've started using a new, cheaper ink for printing out my lines, and oh boy, I can certainly tell the difference. This cheaper ink tends to fade and run a bit once water is applied, which is fine for hobby work like this, but if you're looking to do professional work, I definitely invest in higher quality ink. These lines were sitting out for days to dry, so there's not really any excuse for them to be this runny. That aside, let's talk about demons. As someone who loves reading and consuming content about mythology and folklore from all cultures and religions, I feel like demons as individuals don't get as much attention as other spirits and creatures. Outside of name-dropping them once or twice in the midst of an exorcism sequence, of course. Admittedly, I didn't know much about them either until I stumbled across a meme about this guy a few weeks ago. He's not really what I imagined when demons are brought up, so of course I had to know more about him and the rest of his brethren. One thing led to another, and I ended up with a copy of the Lesser Key of Solomon on my desk to join my fledgling book collection of monsters and spirits from all around the world. Not actually for summoning demons, I promise. The Lesser Key of Solomon is a collection of demons that make up the hierarchy of hell, what they do, and yes, how to summon them. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I understand, the titles Ars Goetia and the Lesser Key of Solomon are interchangeable. Either way, the demons contained in the book are referred to as GOETIC demons. These spirits are called upon in magical practices even today, but not in the sense that you'd think. Growing up in the southern United States surrounded by religion, demons have always had a particularly creepy and taboo miasma around them for me. Movies like Hereditary and The Exorcism of Emily Rose did not help with my feelings toward them. It wasn't until I actually started reading the blurbs about these spirits in Ars Goetia that I came to the realization that these spooky, bloodthirsty demons we're all being fed in media are actually just a bunch of nerdy bros who want to share some knowledge. That might be oversimplifying a bit, but honestly, I did not expect there to be any good side at all to beings who always seem to want to bring about the end of humanity in every horror movie ever. I came prepared for barbaric violence, and while there is a bit of that, there is a whole lot more entities that just sound like a cool college professor. Take this guy, for example. This is Gamigan, a donkey who can teach you about liberal sciences, and if that's not your jam, he can also tell you about the sins of dead people. I imagine if he walked the earth in present day, he'd probably run a T channel here on YouTube, let's be real. All this is to say that once you get past the veils of media and religion and actually take a look at the bad guys, they actually aren't that scary. Admittedly, I had the benefit of not believing in them, so that makes them even less frightening to me, but even I felt like the world was a little less scary once I actually took the time to shine a light on the monster, so to speak. That is the perfect lead-in to shine a light on this particular monster, Bur. Whether you've realized it or not, you've probably seen imagery of Bur somewhere at some point in your life. Originally, Bur was described as a centaur, however, he was depicted in his iconic lion-headed, five-legged form by the artist Louis Le Breton for the Dictionnaire Infernal in the 1800s. This imagery was reproduced in the Lesser Key of Solomon, of which Bur is the 10th spirit. The Lesser Key of Solomon states that Bur is one of several presidents of hell. He teaches moral and natural philosophy as well as the logic art and can tell you everything you need to know about herbs and plants. He is also a healer and is known to give good familiars. When I was going through and picking which demons I wanted to draw for this video, Bur was at the top of my list due to my familiarity with his imagery. My first instinct was to depict him in some sort of scary pose, but as I read his blurb, I got the feeling that something more peaceful was better suited to him. Knowing that people still use spirits like Bur in their spiritual practices and not wanting to perpetuate stereotypes that have gotten a lot of people brutally killed for their beliefs, I did some research to read about the nature of practitioners' experiences with Bur to get a different angle from the worldview I grew up with. There was not a single mention I could find of Bur being malevolent toward people who worked with him, and everyone had positive things to say about him. While I have zero interest in summoning a demon myself, it warms my cold little heart to know that people can find comfort and healing in places that are often portrayed as being nothing but pure evil. As for the piece itself, I was a little anxious about it to start out with because the beginning stage was pretty darn ugly. I did a color test for both of these pieces in Procreate before I started, but I forgot that it is really difficult, if not impossible, to recreate the dark browns I wanted with watercolor. I was honestly pretty close to scrapping this piece after I completed the watercolor portion, but luckily I've learned from experience that when I use watercolor as a base, I always like it a lot more after applying the colored pencil layer. That's exactly what happened here. While I still didn't get the exact colors I wanted from my color test, I managed to get something that I liked even more. Shading his fur and the muscles in his legs was pure zen, and I love the way the dirty blonde and red browns worked together. I had originally intended to put more detail in the herb bundle in the background, but I decided not to, partly out of laziness and partly out of not wanting those details to compete with the level of detail in Beer's mane. And now we're on to finishing up Amen, so let's talk a bit about him. Amen is the seventh spirit of the Lesser Key of Solomon. He holds the rank of Marquis and is described as being very powerful and very stern. To quote the book directly, he appeareth like a wolf with the serpent's tail, vomiting out of his mouth flames of fire. If you ask him, he will change his shape to that of a man with the teeth of a dog. He can also appear in the form of a man with a raven's head with dog teeth. Amen can be consulted about all things past and future, and he can help resolve or cause disputes between friends. I got the impression that Amen is a bit more moody than Beer, but in my research I also found people's interactions with him to be pretty benign. Like all demons appear to be, Amen is a very nuanced entity, neither good nor bad, and only seems to cause bad things to happen if the practitioner wants to use his power in that way. Those who use demons in their spiritual practices say that contrary to popular belief, demons are not out to get you, and given the proper respect, will gladly help you out in your quest for personal betterment. One might argue with that any which way, but since I have no experience with these sorts of things, I'm inclined to believe the people who are actually familiar with these things rather than the fearmongers. I ran across the same issues with this piece as I did with Beer as far as recreating the colors from my color test, so I won't bother repeating any of that. I had a lot of fun with this one as well, and it took me way longer than I intended just because I was enjoying rendering his fur so much. Since I was having trouble getting the colored pencils as dark as I wanted, I tried layering a bit of crayon over it. It helped a little, but what I really liked about the crayon was the texture it created. I do love me some texture variation in these mixed media pieces. Overall, drawing and learning about these guys was a lot of fun. In addition to making some cool art, it was also enjoyable for me to read about these guys from a different viewpoint. I have an entire list of other goetic demons I'd love to try drawing, but unfortunately I only had enough time to work with these two for this particular video. Maybe it's because of the cryptid iceberg series I've been working on, but lately I've been more interested in making videos that blend art with a bit of fun facts about the subject rather than videos that are just completely dedicated to the art process. I'd love to do more mini dives like this into creatures and entities from myths and folklore, so I hope that's something y'all would like as well. It definitely makes it easier to write scripts rather than just rambling about the same art process over and over, so it's a win-win for all of us. To close us out here, I hope y'all enjoyed watching the art process and hearing about Beer and Amen as much as I enjoyed learning about them. Even though I really want to draw more of them, my inspiration is a fickle thing, so I can't make any promises about what the next video will be. It'll be just as much of a surprise to me as it will be to you. If y'all don't hear from me before then, I hope you all have a lovely Halloween or Samhain or whatever you celebrate at this time of year. I'm going to leave y'all with some peaceful water footage from a park we visited, so enjoy that. Don't forget to like and subscribe to help grow the channel, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye guys!